Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so pleased you have come here to share these stories. Because now I'm telling stories. I'm telling stories from ancient Mexico, but in English. So now we start, and this show is called Necklace of Shells, because in the north of Mexico there is native Indians tribe that is called the Seri Indians, which live in the north of Mexico between the desert and the sea, and they say that the stories and the dreams are like birds from eggshells, from shells that we just put on the thread of the days. So each day we have a story and a dream that we can carry on, and I hope that this story today I'm going to share with you, you like it. So we are going very, 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 very far away in time, and we are going for starting to another region of Mexico, which is the region that is from Veracruz, and there is a land where the ancient Indians with clay used to make heads and with a beautiful smile, because they were very happy all the time. And they tell this story, which is about the sun, which is about this time of the year, because this time of the year is the time where the days are shorter and shorter and shorter, and until the solstice, when is the shortest day of the year. And the ancient people thought that maybe the night will be all the time, and the sun will go apart and never come again. So they were very frightened, and they tell this story to cheer up. And they say that in long, long time ago, at the beginning of the humanity, suddenly the sun was very angry with the people, with the humanity, with the men and women and everybody, because he thought, the sun, that people didn't care about him. They just got used to him. They just used to that he had to warm the earth, that he had to give the light, but people didn't make any ceremonies, any songs, any dances for him. So the sun said, well, it's useless to work for the people, I'm going to sleep. And he fell asleep. And he fell so deep asleep that in that very moment, all the sky was dark, very, very, very dark. And people couldn't see each other. And they were very frightened, and it was very, very cold because there wasn't any sun. It was so dark. And the people were scared, and the children and the old people was so cold. They started they were very, very cold, and they started to join together, but they couldn't warm themselves. So the men and the women went to the woods and carried all the wood they could, and they make a big fire. And finally, the people could see each other for a while and warm up, and they were very happy. But soon the fire went out, and the only last ashes on the soil. So that men, women, old people and children didn't know what to do. And what they do in the native community is to join, like we do now, And because they think that with many heads have many solutions to the problems, more than oneself. So they joined together and everybody was telling what they think was the solution, and somebody said, well, we have to go and ask the shaman, the wise man, for a solution. So they went, they were wearing the feather hats, they had burning incense, and they were going to see the wise man who was in a pyramid, a big pyramid. And the wise man was listening to them and said, yes, it's a big problem. I'm going to ask to the Lord of the mountains for a solution. So the people saw how the wise man was going up in the forest and just disappear because it was so dark. And they were waiting there, and they were trying to sing, but the songs were very, very sad songs, and they were waiting. And finally the wise man came and said, well, I have the solution now. Men, go and fetch a snake. Young men, go and fetch the beautiful feathers of the quetzal bird, which are feathers like green and blue and with reflects, golden reflects.
No,
Beautiful.
no.
Like the corn when it's growing up, like the rain when it's falling down. And then he said, well, you women, you go and fetch very sticky wax, which is called wax from Campeche. And everybody went to fetch the things, and the men came with the snake, and the women put the wax on the body of the snake, which is like the earth when there is nothing growing on there. And then the young men came with the feathers, and they put all the quetzal feathers on the body of the snake. And then, after that, the wise man said, now, said to the snake, now you have to fly up to the sun and walk, and you have to wake him up. So, the snake is not used to fly. He's always used to be on the earth just, and try to fly with these new wings. And at first it was a bit difficult, but then it started to fly and fly and fly and fly and fly, and it went very up on the sky. And the people saw how it was flying up and disappearing in the dark sky. And the snake went where the sun was and said, sun, you have to wake up, you have to wake up, the people needs you, the people needs you. And the sun was saying, no, the people don't care about me, they don't do any celebration for me, they don't do any feast for me, I want to sleep again. And the snake said, with his rattle, said, ding, 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 you have to wake up, people needs you, you can see, try. So the sun, which is very proud, said, well, I'll try with a small ray. And started to pull out a small ray. And when the people saw this ray in the sky, wow, light, sun, they started to sing and dance and say, son, you are our father, we love you, son. And they burned lots of incense and they made a big ceremony. And then the snake was saying, oh, you see, the people like you, the people love you, so you have to pull out more rays. And the sun, which is very proud, started to put out one ray, another, and the sun was beautiful in the sky, and the people were seeing, wow, our father's son is there. We have to cheer him. We have to make a big feast for him. So since then, they make, every day they were grateful to the sun and they were making songs and dancing for him each day. And since then, the snake rolled up, rolled up, rolled up, rolled up, with just leaving out his rattle, golden rattle, and it turned into a star that comes out when the sun goes down. A star that stays all the night up there saying, well, if the sun gets asleep again, I will wake it up again. Don't be afraid, I will stay here. So since then, this star goes down when the sun goes up. And this star is called Quetzalcoatl. Yes, the snake with quetzal feathers. And you can see it now that the nights are very long. You can look up in the sky and you can see there Quetzalcoatl, which some of other people in other countries call also Venus. Do you like music? Yes? Do you like music? Ah, yes? You have your telephones, you have your radios. Maybe radios is very old, but you like music. Well, you can imagine a world without music. It's difficult, no? To imagine a world without music. But it was a time where we humans, we didn't have the music. So I'm telling now the story about how we get the music. And you have to know that first, in the very, 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 very old time, and we know this story because the old people wrote it down in big books, which are made out of three different kind of, not paper, without like three things, how do you call it? How do you call it? What the trees are
on the trunk?
On the trunk.
The bark. The bark.
The bark. Well, yes, and there wasn't written. There was painting. There was this book painting, which are called codex, and they told us this story that in the beginning of the time, all the gods were sitting around just like you, and they was just saying, and their words were just doing things. They would say mountains, and just the mountains appear. And they would say river, and river appears. And then they would say a big lake, and the big lake appear. Just here in this place where we are now, there was a big, huge lake. And then they said the corn, and the corn, just appeared, beautiful. And when they finished the work, they thought they had worked very, very well, so they were very pleased, and they saw everything, and they said, wow, we worked really nice, look this, look that. But not all the gods were of the same idea. There was a god very, very special who said, no. And this god was Tezcatlipoca. You can say Tezcatlipoca? Imagine you can say Tezcatlipoca. Yes? Well, Tezcatlipoca was a god very special because he was born fourth of the womb of his mother, and he was born such in a hurry that he left behind a foot. Yes, a foot. And instead of his foot, they put him an obsidian mirror. Obsidian, you know, it's a very shiny stone, black stone, and in this mirror one can see the past, the present, and the future, and also as one of oneself is inside. So Tezcatlipoca was very special. You know, the gods were like energy, different energy, and Tezcatlipoca was always thinking about things and was with a lot of energy, and said, no, this is now, we can see there is missing something very, very important. So the god said, but what is missing? Really, look, the men are going to work every day to the cornfield. They have to work. And the god said, yes, the men have to work to eat. That's good, Tezcatlipoca. Yeah, but look, the women, all the day long, they are grinding the grains to make the tortillas. But that's good, said Tezcatlipoca, the gods. They have to work to eat too. And look, the children have to go to the river to fetch the water, and to the woods to fetch sticks and wood for the fire. Well, the children has to contribute to the community, Tezcatlipoca. Wow. But it's not enough. Look, the old people, all the day long they care about the fire. All the day long they stay there. Well, the old people too have to contribute to the community, said the god. But it's missing something very important. Look, it's missing something to cheer of, something to be joyful of. There is something to join. There is missing something to share, and that is the music. Tezcatlipoca, the god said, but you know that the musician and the instruments are in the house of the sun, and nobody can take them from there. Nobody, said Tezcatlipoca. I leave it to me. So he looked around, and he looked for a young man, well, older than you and you, maybe just like one of the ones that are there. And they called him, and he called him. And the young man was very impressed, because not every day there is a god which is speaking to us and giving us a mission. So he was just listening very, very, very quiet, and at the day after, he did exactly what the god had told him. He woke up very early with the first ray of the sun, which was coming through the volcanoes, the Popocatépetl, which is the mountain the Smoky Mountain, and the Iztaccíhuatl, which is the White Women. And he went walking through the volcanoes, just leaving this big, huge lake where the volcanoes were reflecting them. It was so beautiful. But he has something to do. So he was walking and walking and walking. And at that time, there weren't cars, there weren't buses, there were nothing. There weren't roads, there weren't paths. He had to look for the way. And he started to go on the highlands. And then he went going down through the rainforest. It was beautiful. There was this huge trees that seems to carry the sky, which called ceiba. And there were lots of leaves, very big, like elephant ears. And there were also this beautiful flower, vanilla's flowers. So he was walking and walking and walking. And then, finally, got on a beautiful beach just in front of the sea. But he never had seen the sea. You have seen the sea? Maybe in the television? You have seen the sea?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? You have seen the sea? Yes? Well, he never had seen the sea, so he was just, oh, I said, what I'm going to do? How I'm going through the sea to the house of the sun. He didn't know what to do because he didn't know how to swim. But Tezcatlipoca was a god. And the god, Tezcatlipoca, could make himself invisible. So he had been always just at the side of the young man, all the time, just to protect him, and because he didn't want something bad pass him. So at that moment, Tezcatlipoca started to whisper a song, and the young man just heard it in his head and said, I am going to the house of the sun. Do you learn it? Yes? I am going to the house of the sun. Yeah? I am going to the house of the sun. And at this very moment, all these sea animals that you can imagine just started to come close to you. Which sea animals you imagine?
Dolphin.
Dolphins, fish, whales, octopuses, turtles, seahorses. Well, and all these sea animals, living sea animals, started to tangle with the fins, with the queues, with the heads, with the shells. They start to tangle, and make a living bridge. So the young man was just walking on this living bridge from sea animals, and he could see, wow, it was so deep one side and so deep on the other side, and he didn't know how to swim, but he had a purpose. So he went walking, and he got to the house of the sun. And when the sun saw him, he had all this ray tangled with furry, and said, whoa, here the human can come here, and not the young man like you. And he was so furious that he couldn't even speak. And the young man said, well, I'm coming for the god Tezcatlipoca that sent me for the musicians and the instruments, because I have to take them out of here. And the sun said, no, the musician and the instrument are mine, and they're not going out of here. So the young man started to sing, I am here in the house of the sun. I came from the musicians and the instruments. And the sun took some wax and put it in the ears of the musicians so they couldn't hear the song. But was it cold in the house of the sun? No. It was very hot, so the wax started to melt, and the musicians started to hear the song and said, wow, we are going on tour. We are going finally to find our audition. Oh, we want our audience, big audience. And they were so happy because the musician really liked to play with many people around. They didn't want to be there close up in the house. So they just took their instruments and they started to go out of the house of the sun, and the sun was just trying to stop them, but there were so many that it couldn't do it. And well, there were all the instruments you can imagine. I don't know which one you imagine. There were drums, there were flutes, there
Guitars,
marimbas, violins. Well, there were all the instruments you can imagine. So there were lots of them. And they were just walking on this living bridge, and they were so happy that the music they were playing was beautiful music. And the music went on the air, right in the air, just floating and floating and floating, and got where the men were, and the women were, and the old people were, and the children were, and they just started to hear this sound so beautiful, and the sound were just going down their bodies, and they were just feeling so happy that they start to join together, to laugh, to share their ideas about the music, and they were just starting to move their body because they were dancing. It was the first time they were dancing, and was so happy that when the musician came to the beach, they make a big feast that lasts many days. And since then, just to be joyful, to join together, to share, we have the music, thanks to the big god, Tezcatlipoca. Well, there is lots of these legends talk about the starting of everything, the idea the ancient people had about how the world was being done. And it's amazing because sometimes now we find very scientist theories on the cosmos, and we can see that sometimes they just match with the ideas these people, very ancient people, had, because they were really looking to the nature, to the things. And there is one element that when it's so cold like now, we sometimes need. I think we need it for everything, and that is the fire. The ancient god, the fire. And now I can tell you the true story about how we, the humanity, could have the fire, which is very important because now we have the fire everywhere. No, you have matches and well, fire, and you can cook and you can heat and everything. But in that time, people didn't have the fire. And that time is also time where the animals and the people could share the language. They had different language, but they could understand each other. So this is a legend that came from the native Indians, Wixárika, which also calls Huicholes, which live in the center north of Mexico, in a very landscape full of mountains, and they have a very beautiful tradition about embroideries, about doing beautiful things. So this legend says that one time we didn't have the fire. The people could see that sometimes during a very, very, very big storm, it could call for a fireball on a tree, on a dry tree, it started to blow up the fire. But they couldn't reach it. So they were very sad because in the winter they had so cold and they couldn't cook anything, so it was sad. And as usual, they just joined together and they said, well, we have to find a solution. And they were joining and they were saying things, but they couldn't find the solutions. But at that time, you know, the Indians think that each one of us as a power animal. Yes, each one of us has a power animal that protects us, that helps us, which is called Nawa or Tona. And also, these people in the village, they had their power animals. And the power animals that wanted to help the humans were just joined together. And there were the deer, there were the turtle, there were the snake, there were the hummingbird, there were many, many, many animals, all the animals you can imagine that were power animals of all these people. And there was one which is very, very special, which is called Tlacuache, because he has a nose, very long nose, and he has a pouch here where he carried the babies, like the kangaroos. Yes, that's very special. At that time, Tlacuache has a beautiful fairy tail. Beautiful. Like, yes, like a fox, like a fox. So, also Tlacuache is known to be very intelligent. So Tlacuache came to where all the power animals were joining together and said, well, I know how to get the fire. And all the animals, the power animals would say, oh, Tlacuache, that's great. Yes, because I saw in one dark night, very stormy night, when the fire started on a dry tree, and Grandmother Flame came and just grabbed it. And she took it up on the mountains in a cave where she lives. And I know that she's staying there and feeding and feeding and feeding the fire, because the fire always have to eat branches, wood, branches, wood, branches, wood. So all the power animals said, well, okay, so you can go and fetch the fire for us? Of course, said Tlacuache, and started to walk up the mountain. And he went walking up the mountain, walking up the mountain, walking up the mountain, walking up the mountain, very high mountain. And finally he found a lake, very, very cold lake, small cold lake. And he knew that it was very cold. The water there was so cold, but he said, I have to do it. I have to do it. So he took all his forces and, wow, jumped in the water. And the water was very, very cold, and he came out and was just shaking because he was freezing. He was just freezing, but he had to do it. So he came to the cave where Grandmother Flame was. And Grandmother Flame was sitting. She had all this embroidered skirt, one upon the other, beautiful broderie, and she was there just in front of the fire, and she was feeding the fire. Branches and sticks, and branches and wood, and branches and sticks, and branches and wood, and she was just feeding the fire, feeding the fire, feeding the fire. And when she saw Tlacuache there, she said, what are you doing here? Because she was very jealous about the fire. And Tlacuache was just shaking and saying, freezing, like, and I'm just freezing, and I'm getting to go to a cold, and I'm going to die if you don't let me stay here close to the fire. And Grandmother Flame was very jealous about the fire, but she wasn't a bad person. So she said, well, Tlacuache, I see. Well, you can stay there, but you don't move. So Tlacuache just round in a ball with his fairy tail around, and it was just a ball, and he pretended to sleep, but he was listening. And when one is asleep and is just warm around, it seems like it's contagious. So Grandmother Flame, who was always feeding the fire, just felt so tired, so tired, so tired that she felt that the eyelids were just going down very, very, very heavy and started to snore. At that moment, Tlacuache knew that it was his time, so just roll up to the fire. He put his tail in the fire and then took an ember and he put it on his boat. And when he just felt that the fire was just sticking on his tail, he just started to run, and Grandmother Flame woke up and she said, "Oh, you are a thief! You're stealing my fire! Oh, you can see now what I'm doing!" And he started to run, but she was very fat and very heavy and very, very cold. So Tlacuache was so quick, he went just where the mountain was starting to go down and roll up, maintaining his fiery tail just in fire. And when he came down to the village, just ran through the village like a living torch. And all the people was coming out, the children, the women, the old people, with sticks and branches and wood to light the fire and to take the fire to the home. So Tlacuache went where the authority were, and he gave them the ember and said, "Well, this is the seed of the fire. You have to care about it, because otherwise it turns out and there is no more fire." That's how, since then, we have the fire, thanks to the Tlacuache. But Tlacuache, since then, here, where he has his pouch, he has a fur all black, because it burned with the ember. And also, since then, Tlacuache has a tail like a rat. Thank you very much. And there is another story, the last one, just the last one. And for this story, I really need you to help me a bit when I tell you. So I hope you can help me. And you know, now that we had so much rain, we say, "Oh, there is so much rain, we don't want rain anymore." But what's happened when we don't have rain? It's very difficult, because we need water. We need water to live. So we need rain also. Just gentle rain, not too, not too terrible rain, storms, hurricane, no. Just a gentle rain. Well, that's the story about a village that didn't have the rain. So there was this village that was just on the foot of the mountains, big mountains, and they could see up there. There were lots of clouds, and they could see that it was raining there, but just a small river could get to the village, and they didn't have enough water to water the cornfield. They didn't have water to cook, they didn't have water to wash, they didn't have enough water to drink, and it was very difficult, the situation there. So they always, like always do, the native Indians, they joined together and said, well, what are we going to do? And the man said, well, we think that maybe we can ask Little Bird to go up there on the mountains where the gods are and ask them for the rain. And everybody was pretty satisfied about this. So they called Little Bird. And Little Bird came and said, which in Little Bird language say, well, I'm very pleased you asked me, so what I can do for you? And the people said that he had to fly up to the mountains, ask the gods for the rain, and bring the rain back to the village. And Little Bird started to fly and fly and fly and fly, and went up there in the mountains where the gods were, and said, there in the village, they are suffering a lot because they don't have water enough. So please, God, can I take the rain to the people? And the God said, yes, of course. You can have the rain, and you can guide the rain to the village, of course. But you have to guide it, because otherwise rain get lost and go home. So Little Bird was, and the rain was just going, and the rain was there following Little Bird. But at one moment there was the wind coming, and now I need you to help me with the wind, because it's a burst of wind, very strong. So you can help me with the wind? Wind, yes. And the wind took the clouds and the rain, and the Little Bird was apart, and they couldn't see each other, and they couldn't fly. So the rain got lost, and it went back to its house. It was up on the mountains. And Little Bird went to the village and said, I'm very sad because I couldn't accomplish my mission. But everybody said, well, it's very difficult, Little Bird, you try your best. So it's all right. But now people wanted another solution. So the women said, well, we can ask Deer, because Deer is just jumping up, and it can go up on the mountain and ask the gods for the rain. And Deer came, he had these big horns like this, and he was saying, wow, what can I do for you? I want to help you. And they explained that he had to go to the gods and ask for the rain. So Deer started to jump and jump and jump and jump and jump, and he went up to the mountains and asked the god and said, beautiful gods, you can give me the rain for these poor people down in the village. And the god said, yes, you can guide the rain, but you have to guide it very well, because otherwise it got lost and goes back to her house. So Deer started to jump and jump and jump, and rain was following him, but suddenly there was a wind stronger than before. Wow, very, very to the mountain, to their house. And deer went to the village, and he was so sorry that it was just like this, and was said, "Oh, I am very sorry, I couldn't do it." And people said, "Well, it's a very difficult mission, so you try your best. It's all right." And at that moment, people was really sad. All the village were very sad because they said, "Well, it's our destiny, we couldn't move it, we couldn't change it. We have to accept our destiny because this is our destiny forever. We can't change anything." And they were very sad. But at that moment, somebody came and said like this, was coming from here, and was saying this. And it was Little Frog. And Little Frog said, "Well, I can do it. I can go and fetch the rain for you if you want." But the man said, "Nah, if Little Bird couldn't do it," and the women said, "Nah, if the deer couldn't do it, you can't do it, you are just a little frog." But the children came along and said, "Why not? Why can't we give her an opportunity?" So they said, "Yes, oh, it's all right, Little Frog, you can try." And Little Frog went and called all her cousin frogs, or her sister's frogs, or her friends' frogs, and as the frogs have a big, big mouth, the news spread on all over the country, and all the frogs start to come. And there were lots of frogs, and I am alone, so now you have to help me, please. So, Little Frog said, "Well, look, I'm croaking and I'm going to ask the gods for the rain. But as I'm jumping and croaking, I will soon get tired. So we will spread all over the way, and when I'm tired, I just make you a sign and you start to croak instead of me." Yeah. No? It's okay? So we make now 3 groups. Yeah? This is the first group. How are they croaking? The first group. How are they croaking? The first group. Ribbit, 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 ribbit. No! But ribbit, 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 ribbit. Yes? So now this is the second group. This is the second group. So how are they croaking the second group? Ribbit, 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 ribbit. And now that's the third group. How they're croaking the third group? Ribbit, 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 ribbit. Great, that's great. So Little Frog went up to the mountains. Asked the gods, "Please give me the rain for these poor people in the village. They need so much the rain." And the gods said, "Yes, of course, but you have to guide it, because otherwise rain get lost, because she didn't know the way." So ribbit, 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 and the rain was following. But soon Little Frog was just tired of jumping and croaking, so said, "Group number 1. Group number 2. Group number 3. Group number 1. Group number 2. Group number 3. All together." And and all the children went to dance and to jump in the rain. They were just happy, and the women got their enormous pots to just keep the water, and the men dig a big hole just to keep the water there. And they were so happy that they were dancing and doing a big feast, because in the native village they think that the feast is important to share all the joy that we have. So since then, when there is rain, we can hear ribbit, 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 because always there are frogs there just keeping the rain falling. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now the story that I tell you, that I share with you, you can put them on your necklace of shells, so you have a story to carry out to your home and share with all the people you like. Thank you very much.